For my project, I'm talking about 1984 by George Orwell. It has been banned both in Florida as well as Russia and China. And I chose this passage because it talks about the different power structures, political ideologies, and that's why the book has been banned in both of those instances, which I'll get to after I read the passage. The passage specifically is on page 263, and it's when Winston, the main character, has been captured by the party, which is the group that controls everybody, the way they think, how they're able to think, what they're able to know, and pretty much just controls every aspect of their lives. The party member that's interrogating him, O'Brien, is trying to get him to understand what the actual motives of the party are. Because if you ask any of the other brainwashed citizens, they'll tell you that the party exists solely for the good of the people. But O'Brien knows that's not the case, and he's trying to lead Winston to that answer. The party seeks power entirely for its own sake. We are not interested in the good of others. We are interested solely in power. Not wealth or luxury or long life or happiness. Only power. Pure power. What pure power means you will understand presently. We are different from all the oligarchies of the past in that we know what we are doing. All the others, even those who resembled ourselves, were cowards and hypocrites. The German Nazis and the Russian communists came very close to us in their methods, but they never had the courage to recognize their own motives. They pretended, perhaps they even believed, that they had seized power unwillingly and for a limited time, and that just around the corner there lay a paradise where human beings would be free and equal. We are not like that. We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. Power is not a means, it's an end. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power. Now do you begin to understand me? So, in Florida in 1981, this book was challenged for having pro-communist ideologies, which, for anyone who's actually read the book, knows that that's entirely inaccurate. George Orwell actually, in fact, wrote the book as a way to warn people about not letting themselves fall into a communistic totalitarian government system, because he wrote this in the 60s and that's what he was really worried about the world was heading. So that's why 1984, that's what he thought the world was going to look like, and he wanted to keep people away from that. For in that instance, I think in the Florida case, it is a really good example of how things are banned when the pressure groups, the school boards, etc., that are trying to ban them have no knowledge about the subject, or the meaning has been completely misconstrued, because it was. And you see a lot of times what I was doing in my research when I was finding other passages, that people who try to get things banned, the books, have never read them to begin with. And this is just another one of those examples of, they obviously completely, either if they did read it, they completely missed the point, or they just didn't read it at all and they tried to ban it based on the limited information they had. I also like this book because the other reason it's been banned in Russia and China was for the exact opposite reason. So while Florida banned it because they weren't familiar with the material, Russia and China banned it because they knew what the material was and they disliked it and what it represented, because it was an attack on them and their government systems, because it was banned in both countries shortly after it came out in the 60s. So Russia was still the USSR, and China obviously both communistic. I'm pretty sure it is banned in both the countries today, but when it was first banned, all the books were taken off all the shelves. It was illegal to import them, illegal to read them, illegal to sell them. I know China especially, even today, they are very heavy on their censorship. I'm not sure so much about Russia, but I know China for sure. And so I think this is a really good example of a book that they knew what was in the book. They knew that it completely contradicted their ideologies and what they thought people should react, and they didn't want their people to see it and see that maybe they're being treated unfairly or get any ideas from it. And that's why I think this book is so good as an example, because it has been banned both for completely misconstruing the knowledge and forgetting the importance of the book, and it's also been banned for the very real things that the book talks about that the governments don't want you to see.